Hey, good morning, everybody. I cannot believe that it's October 10th. We're 21 days out from Halloween. I just can't believe it. The month is flying by. I wanted to come on here and give you some really great viewer stories. Thank you to everyone who submitted their stories. I've got some really great ones and plenty more for the end of the month. But I thought we'd go ahead and go through a few of these real quick. They're really cool if you want to sit back, get you a cup of coffee or even a glass of wine. They're just perfect to set off your weekend with some spooky content. And I'm going to start with Sarah from North Carolina. She sent one in about an old historic inn that her family stayed at. She says, my family and I were visiting a historic manor during our vacation. The tour guide mentioned several ghostly tales, but I dismissed them as just folklore. She says, later that night, I woke up to a really cold breeze in my room and I couldn't figure out why. She said the temperature had dropped significantly and she could see her breath fogging in the air. She said that she then heard a faint whisper, echoes in the room, and distinctly heard somebody say her name. She said she was petrified. She said she hid under the covers all night until morning. She didn't want to tell her family about it because she didn't think anybody would believe her. And she says that she never believed in ghosts before that night. And then she ends it with, but I do now. So that was kind of a cool one from Sarah in North Carolina. Thanks for sharing that one with us. Then the next one that we have is submitted by Mark. And he's from Texas. He was saying that he lives in a relatively new house, so he never expected anything paranormal to occur there. He said that one night he was walking into the kitchen to get a glass of water, and down the hallway he noticed a dark, shadowy figure flickering in his peripheral vision. He says it was a tall, slender person that seemed to fade in and out of existence. And he says, no, before you ask, I had not been drinking or anything else that night. He said he froze because his heart was pounding in his chest and he couldn't catch his breath. He says he blinked and it was gone. He said he's seen it a few times since then, always in the same hallway. It's unsettling, to say the least. A realtor's coming next week. He said that he's moving his family out of his house. So that's another really good one. These are so much fun. So let's do a few more. The next one I'm looking at is Emily. She's from Rhode Island. Sadly, her grandma passed away and the family was in grandma's attic. She said, which was always a spooky place. She remembered it from being a little girl. She said it was filled with old furniture and forgotten memories. She said one afternoon, while all the family was rummaging through a box getting ready for an estate sale, she found an old doll. She said it was a porcelain doll with painted eyes that were chipped, and she remembered from her childhood that her grandmother had it sitting on her bed for years and years. But she said today that those painted eyes seemed to follow her around the room. She said, as I held it, I heard a child's laughter coming from the corner of the attic. She said, I looked around, but no one was there. She said, I quickly put the doll back in the box, never went up to the attic again. And as soon as that doll sold at the yard sale and the estate sale they were having, she said that she could catch her breath again. So that's a good one. I wonder if they kept that house. She doesn't say if they sold grandma's house or maybe they were just redoing it, but anytime there's a doll, yeah, that just makes everything super creepy. All right, let's see what else we've got. Oh, this is a good one. David even gave us a title for this one. David from Georgia sent me one called The Highway Hitchhiker. This sounds good. Let's see what this one says. He said, driving one night on a deserted highway coming back from a very long business trip, he saw what looked like a young woman hitchhiking on the side of the road. He said it was raining really hard and thought that he just imagined it because he was really sleepy. He said she was dressed in a white dress and her face was very pale. He said, feeling sorry for her, I pulled over and offered her a ride, even though I've heard my whole life you don't pick up hitchhikers. He said she got in the car without saying a word. He said as he drove, he glanced at her in the rearview mirror, but she was gone. He said, I slammed on the brakes, terrified. He said, to this day, I don't really know who or what she was, because one minute she was in my car, the next minute she was in my rearview mirror, and the next second she was gone. He said, was I just really sleepy? He said, sometimes when I'm driving still on long business trips, I remember that and lock my doors. So that was a pretty good one. Thanks, David. Okay, this video is getting kind of long, and I've had so many people send me these stories, and I'm so appreciative of them. I will be doing another live viewer story probably closer to the end of October. But here's another grandmother story. What is it with grandmothers' houses after they pass away? Okay, this one is from Misty, and she's from Charleston. She said, my grandmother's house always felt a little off. She said, but one particular stormy October evening, it was even downright terrifying. She said, my grandmother passed away over a year ago, and her house had been vacant ever since she passed. She said, we were there trying to decide as a family what we wanted to do with her home. She said, all of a sudden the power went out. She said, it was not storming, there were no winds, and just the power went out. She said there were candles everywhere, because her grandmother loved candlelight. So they opened up a box, lit a bunch of candles. They were sitting around her fireplace, telling stories about how much they loved her and how much they missed her, and they heard footsteps upstairs. She said they all looked around confused because there was no one else in the house. It had been vacant for quite some time. She said the footsteps continued pacing back and forth above us. She said then we heard a distinct cough. She said which was really, really creepy because it sounded like her grandmother's cough, and her grandmother actually passed away with COPD and asthma. She said at that point we all ran out of the house and waited in the car until the storm passed. She said we never figured out who or what was upstairs that night, but they just concluded that grandmother never really left. Okay, that was another good one. Thank y'all so much for sending these stories, and I would love to share more. I am all about the spooky, and when I read these stories of things that really happen to people, it just kind of makes me giddy. But I want to thank you for joining me on this Friday, October 10th. And I want to remind you that tomorrow, Saturday, October the 11th, is going to be the next few pages of The Gate at Morgan Manor. And we'll get that little short story finished also before the end of October. Thank you for all the new viewers. I truly, truly appreciate it. And happy Spooktober from Hauntingly. And I will be back with you soon. Have a great weekend. Thanks, y'all.